Camera shaking games is a very important tool that is often used to convey the impact of what's happening. So follow along as we learn how to create a simple camera shake to improve your game. There are two general ways we can achieve camera shake in 3D. One is by shaking the position of the camera, and the other is by shaking the rotation. You'll see how to implement both and what problems you might encounter. First, let's select the camera and create a script for it. I'll name it camera shake. Here, we'll create a variable named isShaking and set it to false, then create our camera position function that receives a shake intensity and a duration. We check if the camera is already shaking and only continue if it isn't, turning isShaking to true. We'll set the time left to the duration of the shake and also save the start position of the camera. Then, we'll start a while loop that runs until there is time left. Here's where the shake happens. We are going to take a random offset using the randf range from minus intensity to intensity and offset the camera's x and y position values. Then we set the local position of the camera to be the start position plus that random offset. We then reduce the time left using the getProcessDeltaTime, since we are not in the process function, and then use await to wait for the get3.processFrame. And at the end, outside of the loop, we reset the camera's position and set the isShaking back to false. This camera shake here uses the await keyword. This means calling this function will spawn a coroutine process and execute until the await line, where it waits for the signal to continue, in this case for a new process frame to start. But now, we can easily start a camera shake. We just need to call this function from anywhere. So for example, on the ready function, we can just call shake position and it would simply work, and you can easily adjust the values to change the shake. Now, while this is all good, shaking the position, specifically for FPS games, is not a very good option. If your camera shake is too aggressive, you can clip through walls and see what's behind them while the camera is shaking. So let's instead use rotational shaking. Much like before, we create a shake rotation function, but using max rotation degrees instead of intensity. We do the same checks and convert the rotation from degrees to radians, set the time left, save the start rotation, and start off the same loop. But now we are going to need two offsets. One for the X rotation, the up-down rotation, and another one for the Y rotation, the left and right movement. And then set the rotation values for both of them. Reduce the time, await for the frame, and reset the rotation at the end. Now we can just use the new function and now should work. A very simple rotation shake camera. But something is not right. We can't move the camera player up and down while the camera is shaking. This is actually a very common issue. The camera is fighting the player's controller to replace the rotation, but the fix is really simple. After the await line, set the start rotation.x to be rotation.x minus offset x. And just like that, now you can rotate the camera up and down while shaking. But let's also see some use examples. Having the camera shake function in the camera script makes it very easy to use from anywhere. Inside any other node script, you can get the active camera with the getViewPort.getCamera3D, and from there, you can just call shake rotation and start shaking. You won't get the autocomplete, but it will still work. And to avoid crashes if you don't have the camera script, you can just check if the shake rotation function is present before calling it. Now, for a more real example, let's make this spike affect the player. This is just an array 3D with monitoring on, and the mask set to only trigger with the player. We'll connect the body entered signal and connect it to our player script. Here, let's pick a function and untoggle the compatible methods only to see all the player methods. And I'll choose my take damage one that receives no parameters. Now the body enter signal also passes the body that collides with it. But as it only triggers with the player and the script already is inside it, we don't really need the body information. So let's toggle advanced and unbind one parameter of the signal. This will let the signal call our take damage function without errors. Then finally connect it. The take damage here just shakes the camera, locks the player input for a while, and throws the player in the opposite direction. And like that, now the spikes hurt us. We can't just ignore them anymore. You can also add some fall damage, making the camera shake only when falling from 3 blocks high. Now, here we use coroutines for the camera shake, but you can also easily make the shake camera within the process function too. You just need to save the variables within the camera script instead, and use the shake rotation function to set these values. You still need to use the await keyword at the end to fix the conflict rotation with the player controller, but it is much better overall. By using the shake in the process function, you can set the camera's priority to a high value and make sure it is executed last, which is a great way to reduce camera stuttering, if you happen to have those. And there is also a more advanced way to make camera shakes too, which make the shakes much more fluid and also work with slow motions, but I will leave that to another video. But that's it. If you would like to support me, you can get the project files by supporting me on Patreon, where I also occasionally post about small projects and other new things I learn about there. Now you can shake cameras to improve the feel of your game's action and give it that much needed extra juice. I hope you liked this video, and until next time.